What did you think of Dead Ringers?
Well, look, the first thing I think we have to say is that it's extremely different from the Cronenberg film.
Yeah.
Even though it shares some plot elements, like there's a love affair with the actress, which is a part of it. And obviously a premise. So you have these identical twin gynecologists who are kind of, I don't know, psychopathically fixated on pushing the field forward in kind of bold and strange ways. It doesn't feel at all like the Cronenberg. So it's I think the Cronenberg has this really interesting sort of, I mean, it's about men playing God, right? And it's about this, they almost have an abhorrence of the reproductive process itself. Like they're kind of wanting to bring it to heel, I suppose, and kind of control something that men have no control over, right? And that's what makes the Cronenberg film interesting.
Yeah.
The Birch version is basically starting from the sense of, okay, so look, if these two characters had the same personalities but were female, how would this play out differently? And of course, it plays out completely differently because, as I think it was Rachel Weisz mentioned in the interview, there's this sense that obstetrics and gynecology is failing women because it treats pregnancy and childbirth as a disease, right? And that's actually something one of the Beverly says in one early episode, is that pregnancy should not be treated as a disease. And so the idea of bringing out this lab and this clinic that will treat it very differently is kind of completely integral to how it works. Even though there's the same kind of weird sort of half sensual, half alienating mood, like a lot of the decor in the lab is red, in the same way as so there's this kind of ritualistic quality to the operations, to the procedures that they're doing. Remind me slightly, tragically, of Snoke's Praetorian Guards in The Last Jedi. Everyone kind of dressed in this red armor. You know, there's a certain religiosity to what they're doing, right? And it kind of connects with this idea that this is something very spiritual and very fundamental to the human condition. I have to. Okay, so look, I've not given a straight opinion on this. I have to say I was kind of with it to an extent for most of it, and then at the end, so this is in episode 6, it really clicked for me, and I was massively impressed with it. It ends, I think, much more strongly than the Cronenberg film. I think the Cronenberg film is doing a lot of interesting things, but slightly kind of peters out a bit.
Agreed, yeah.
This does something very, very, very clever, which was not what I expected it to do. There are hints dropped in the first few episodes about where it might be going, and I think we're meant to, take those on board and run with them as our pet theory throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, lulled, yeah.
And then there's this, the last episode, it's a really kind of directorial feat. There's a lot of interesting technique stuff that is quite kind of heightened, quite surreal.
I think Sean Durkin did the last episode as well.
He co-directed the last week. He directed the first two and co-directed the last one.
Right.
And I think the first two, you certainly feel it's going for this kind of slightly Fincher-like style, but not kind of out-and-out Fincher. The music has this kind of Mika Levy quality to it, but it's not out-and-out Mika Levy, so it's kind of palatable. It's kind of high-end, bold but manageable. And then it becomes something much stranger towards the end that is really, really exciting and connects very, very fundamentally with, like, we're doing this from a female perspective. We're kind of ploughing into what it means. And it's really interesting that they said, this is not meant to be body horror. And it's not. No. And yet in the first episode, there is such a kind of montage you could describe it as, like, gynecologically robust. I don't know what the way of describing it is, but it's like they're doing all this stuff in the clinic. It's like they're sawing furniture or something. I don't know. It's really kind of like full on in this, very much like this is the core of what being on Earth means. This is what we came from. This kind of incredible.
Well, that's it. It's primal, so natural, isn't it?
Yes,
that's the point.
But yes, there's none of the kind of the ickiness of the Cronenberg, and there's that great classic Cronenberg leg crossing moment where I think it's Beverly kind of unveils his new gynecological instruments that he's commissioned. And there are all these kind of awful alien-looking contraptions that he wants to kind of inflict on women. That is absolutely not what this new version of Dead Ringers is doing. I think some of the supporting characters are maybe stronger than others. Jennifer Ehle, who plays this kind of mega rich financier, is really, really good.
As ever.
And she kind of has this, there's a very fun, unhinged dinner party.
Yeah.
In episode 2, I think, where they're trying to drum up the funding and kind of convince Ehle to come on board.
Which is quite recognisable, isn't it, with the sort of Eat the Rich thing that we have going on at the moment with a lot of, White Lotus, etc. It feels very much that it fits into that.
Yes, totally. And I think, so the reason it works quite as well as it does is mostly down to Rachel Weisz. I think there's this she has a subversiveness in her performance style that doesn't necessarily come through in those kind of English Rose roles that she was, early in her career was cast in. But we saw in The Lobster and we saw in The Favourite very much. It really gets to kind of shine. The freak flag is flying, okay, in this, and her dual performance is so good and so kind of natural on screen that I found myself kind of watching it thinking, oh, how did they find someone who looks so much like her? And I have to keep reminding myself, no, you idiot, that's her again. It's really seamless in a way that it just melts away within seconds.
I would follow that freak anywhere.
Okay, so it's doing this really interesting thing with the duality of this, what will it take for women to have it all, career, mother, and it's playing that really fascinatingly and subtly with the two twins, this idea that it takes two people to be a full person if you're female, which is obviously completely ridiculous and untrue, but it's kind of playing with that very cleverly. I think I went with it because of Rachel Weisz's performance for the first bit, and then when the themes really click in, I was just very, very impressed. And you will want to watch the last episode with someone else because there is a lot to discuss afterwards. What was that? How did this fit with? But hang on, if that was, then surely, and okay, so there's a lot of that going on at the end. I'm glad you've kind of picked up on just how much fun this is as well. It's so entertaining. Big thumbs up. Yes, there's a lovely episode where her parents come to visit from England, and it's all very kind of this kind of charming detour it goes on. But yes, lots of fun.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.